All right, family. Peace and love to the family on this good Friday evening. Peace and love to Letitia. Peace and love to you, Letitia. How are you, Queen?
I'm doing well. How are you, Dr. Maya?
Hey, I can't complain. Excited to have this discussion. So, family,
Sure.
make sure you share this discussion. I don't like saying show, right? Because it's like, showmanship, and that's what I think of when I think of show. But we're gonna have a real discussion tonight about interracial dating and interracial marriages. Is on the rise. Um, we've seen an increase. I mean, if you look at the data, is definitely increasing. But shout out to my brothers and sisters, who's saying, look, black love never dies. It's revolutionary. We got to hold on to it. But there is it's undeniable, right? That this is happening. Okay, a blind man can see it's happening. There is some data though. I forgot the name of the website that I'm thinking of right now, but they say that like 90 something percent of black women, when we do marry, we marry black men, and about 86 or 87% of black men, when they do marry, they marry black women. So that's a fact. So regardless of what we see in the media, black love still exists, and black people are still marrying one another, right? Regardless of the commercials that we see, the ads we see that show interracial couples, black love is still exists. Okay, but we cannot deny that we have been seeing an increase in interracial dating and interracial marriages. So anyway, so I was having a bill with the Queen, Sister Letitia, on the phone one day, and we were talking about interracial relationships and marriages. And I said, "Daggone, this will be a really good conversation to have with the people." And a lot of these discussions that I pop up and have on this platform literally are inspired by conversations that I have with people. Or Baba, I mean, will tell you I'm famous for it. Baba, let's go live and talk about this. And so I have it. And so we were talking about interracial dating and interracial marriages. And so is it ever justified? Because I hear a lot of things, and Letitia, we I've heard a lot of things. You've heard a lot of things. A lot of reasons why people do it. Just recently, someone in my family, he left. He went and got married a Caucasian female, white female, and his reason really was because he said he was mistreated. He was mistreated by black women in his life, and he has since then formed a negative perception of black women, and so he ended up marrying a white woman. And I've heard women say that they've had like negative experiences with black men, and so they've decided to date white men. In fact, Letitia, I forgot the name of the actor. Who was the actress we were talking about? She was on Slim, the movie Slim and
I forgot
something.
her name, but yes, the female that played his girlfriend on that particular movie. But I did forget her name. I remember
So
you talking.
yeah, I forgot her name, but she ended up marrying a white guy,
Mhm.
and people were appalled when that came out. The sister is gorgeous, gorgeous woman,
Right.
and she ended up marrying a white guy. And when people um, asked her why, she said white men were the first to make her feel beautiful.
Mhm.
As we know, and we can't deny, colorism is a huge issue
What it is.
in the community, in the black community. I even had male friends,
Mhm.
and I may send him the link so he can come on here. But I even had a few male friends, chocolate male friends, the very dark skinned, beautiful black men, who told me that when they were younger, the sisters weren't checking for them. They said when they were younger, the sisters told them, "You're too dark for me." Now, these brothers that I'm talking about right now, they still date black women, and they still, aspire to marry black women, but they did share, their hurts, regarding, their complexion and growing up with a complex for being, dark skinned. So, but they didn't use that as a reason for dating
Right.
outside of their race. They stuck with black women, but they did, inform me that that did happen. And so I'm just sitting here thinking of the reasons. And then you got the woman's fear, Letitia. They're on the move right now. They're pushing divester movement right now in the woman's sphere. They're like, we're tired of waiting for black men to marry us.
Right.
I think the stat was, I think that you tell me it was like 50% of black women never get married.
That's what they say. Yeah, yeah. And they may be old stats, but that was, yeah, that's what it was. That
Yeah.
50% of us never see the altar. Correct.
And so then you had the women in the women's sphere, like, I'm tired of waiting on what you said earlier, the IBM, the
The
ideal black man.
IBM. That's
So
what
they
they
like,
do.
I'm explore my options.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna go out here. I'm tired of waiting for them to marry me. So I'm gonna go out and date and explore my options.
Mm-hmm.
So you have people who feel like that. And so you have
Right.
this divester movement going on. I'm not even gonna call the names of the women who are spearheading that movement because I don't want to give them any shine, but these divestors are saying we need to divest from black men. We need to explore our options and marry outside of our races because they're not going to marry us. All they want to do is they want to be Nick Cannon Juniors, right? Run around and impregnate women and create broken homes. I'm just telling you in family, I'm just speaking on the reasons that people say why they why they date or marry outside of their race. And then a post went viral a few months ago. LeBron James' son took a white girl to his prom. And so, the sisters were throwing tomatoes at him, man, in the chat, like in the comment section, the people were throwing tomatoes at him. And then there were a few brothers. I remember one particular YouTuber, his name is O'Shea the Duke, I believe. But
Mm-hmm.
he put out an interesting video. He was saying, well, wait a minute, you all are upset with him for dating outside of his race.
Right.
But this is a kid that attends a predominantly white, he lives in a predominantly white area.
Right.
He attends a predominantly white institution, so he's constantly he grew up around white girls,
Right.
And so why wouldn't he want to take one of them to the prom? I have rebuttals for all of these, by the way, all of these reasons, but I'm just throwing it out there. So that was his reason, like,
Right.
so
Right.
some people may say it's environmental, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is where I grew up, and I grew up in this diverse neighborhood or this predominantly white neighborhood, and so people tend to date outside, right? Or it could be circumstantial.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened to me. So, I may have had a
Right.
negative experience
Right.
with a black man or black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I decided to date outside my race.
Right.
But what are your thoughts, Letitia, on that? I just kind of wanted to lay out what we kind of talked about, like all of the different reasons why people date out. Do you
Right.
think that any of those reasons are actually justifiable?
Um, Justifiable, that's a strong word. So this is what I'll say. I'll say that, and you and I always talk about this. You take you wherever you go, right? So in my opinion, people who decide to date outside of their race just because they had a traumatic experience won't have a successful relationship, whether they're white, black, Asian, Latino, or anything, right? You haven't healed whatever is going on with you in order to have a healthy relationship. That's just my opinion on that front. On the other front, I mean, you know, at this point, I kind of feel like if you meet someone and you love that person for who they are, I'm not sure if you should be stuck. And I know people are gonna be mad at me. I know. Listen, I was married twice to black men, right? And it just didn't work out. But I don't hate black men because of it. I see the reasons why we did not work in those relationships, right? And you work
Right.
on yourself and you become better. But I can say, as a woman at this point, is that I don't know if I'm so closed off to dating outside of my race. See, I think when you get older, you start realizing you need certain things. And I don't know if that need is just limited to um, the, a black man. I know it's gonna be, I know,
No, it's fine. It's different
but I'm
perspectives. Like
I'm very
yeah,
serious. Like at this point, being a woman who's up, almost 50, and who's raising my children, your needs change. Like my goodness, if you just had someone who would support you, if someone who would come in and just say, "All right, baby, I'm going to do this, for you," or "I'm just going to make. How was your day?" Different things like that. Now, if that's coming from someone who isn't black, right, or African American male, I mean, does it change how it makes you feel? You understand what I'm saying? So, in my mind, I'm not saying that black women need to divest. I'm just saying I don't know if we need to be so close minded as to we only have to date black men in order to be happy. That's just my standpoint on that.
No, and
Yeah.
we, absolutely, and it don't matter if nobody mad or whatever. It's just
No,
it's your
I mean, I'm
perspective.
just
It's
putting it
no,
out right,
it's your
right,
perspective, and
exactly, right,
that's why I wanted you to come on because you and I have a different
right,
perspective.
right,
You
right.
know, I just think that
I
for
believe wholeheartedly in, Black love. I'm not saying that at all. I just, at this point, I'm just like, I just wonder, should we be closed to the possibility? That's all.
right.
Hmm.
And see for me,
Hmm.
because I subscribe to black nationalism,
Right,
building a black nation,
right.
building a black nation requires black communities. Black
Hmm.
communities require black families,
Right,
right? Black
right.
families require black people
Hmm.
coming together, right, to produce a family.
Hmm.
And so because I subscribe to that ideology, that will go against what my objectives are, right? Or what my beliefs and objectives are, right? So that's why
Right.
that's where I am. But for me, I think that it's important. I know you were saying like, you went into the feelings and you was like,
Hmm.
somebody, you said my needs have changed, my children are grown.
Hmm.
Um, and so you were saying that, hey, I want a man that, it may be something like coming in rubbing my feet, or we just kicking it and going some whatever. For me,
Whatever support
it's,
looks like.
yeah, whatever, that's what the
Mhm.
support would look like for you. For me, I think that it's important to be with someone who shares my history,
Mhm.
my culture,
Mhm.
and thus my psychology. Now, I'm not saying we got to think exactly alike, right?
Right.
But we know that culture produces psychology, psychology produces behavior, right? And so for me, I would want someone that we have a shared history, a shared culture, and a shared psychology, and also a shared plight,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
A shared plight because there's a struggle happening, there's a war happening
Right.
right here in America, whether we want to ignore it or not. I know a lot of people say there's no war going on. I don't see, guns and tanks riding up and down the street, but there's a war going on. And
Mhm.
so for me, how can I how can we win the war if
Mhm.
we're intermixing with the opposing team? Like how for me it's a contradiction, right? Like it's so we're in this system of racism and white supremacy, and how can I fight against that which is oppressing me, but I'm also marrying that, right? I'm marrying whiteness, the same whiteness that is oppressing me,
Mhm.
right? And so it's kind of like for me it's a contradiction,
Mhm.
um because like I said, there's a war going on,
Mhm.
whether we want to believe it or not. And I know someone may say, well, Dr. Ma'at, are you saying that all white people are engaged in this war, all white people doing this, all white people oppressing you, or is it the 1% that controls the 99% of the powers that be? And my response is to this: I would not say that the poor white people, right,
Mhm.
or middle class, whatever, are oppressing me, but they do participate and benefit from our oppression. So regardless of whether or not they were the people who directly set up this system, they participate in it and they benefit from the exploitation of black people. So to me, why would I want to marry that? Another thing, Letitia, another thing I want to say is this. Um, when I think of my ancestors,
Mhm.
right? And I don't know, I always say that the ancestors are on me heavy,
Mhm.
heavy, heavy. When I look at movies, about slavery, about the Middle Passage, um, I feel it. I feel it as if I was on the damn slave ship, right? As if it happened to me. And so my mind goes back to all of those African women
Mhm.
who were forced, who were raped, you
Right.
know, by
Did not have a choice.
white people, white men who raped them. And I had an opportunity to go to Cape Coast
Mhm.
and also to Elmina about 2 years, 3 years ago now,
Mhm.
and they took me to areas in the dungeon where women, if they refused to
Mhm.
sleep with like the captain or the men, they
Right.
were starved, they were thrown into certain areas, fed through a slot. Some of them would have to sit out in the sun with a ball and chain around their ankle. They
Mhm.
were beat. So
Mhm.
my mind goes back to those ancestors.
Hmm.
And so I would think, how understanding that history, right?
Right, right.
Now I'm voluntarily choosing to
Hmm.
give my body to these people.
Hmm.
I just I can't. Um
I don't think the younger women think like that though. I think, especially for these women who are considering divesting, I think they are looking at they're going off of their experiences now with the men that are now, not going off of history, right? And either that was a good experience or a bad experience, and obviously it was a bad one because now they're looking to date, other men, right? Outside of black men, and understanding that history. I mean, I don't deny that at all. Is one of those things where it would be, you would feel like you are operating basically as a double-minded person, right? How can you have anything in common with this other individual? But I would say that, I think women, especially those women who are looking to do something different or date outside, they're just looking for in their mind what they consider happiness, something that they haven't. I don't even want to say happiness, something that they haven't gotten from black men. So they're looking for it in other men. And, you know, I don't know if I want to say that they're wrong for that. If they feel like that this is something, this is their life to live, you know. So there are many choices that they can make, but maybe they decide they want to try something different. It doesn't always have to go to Caucasian men either. Maybe they want to date Latino men, maybe you want to date Asian men. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? So it is, one of those things. Maybe they want to try it. Now you could try it and you could say, I just can't do this, right? I can't do it. I want to try, I can't do it. And you say, okay, I want to stick with black men. But I don't think that the black women who do try should get a bad rap for trying, if they want to explore it and see if this is something different that I might want to, just look into or delve into. That's all. Just remaining open minded. But I totally, as you and I have several conversations, understand the history behind it. And let me say this. I should have prefaced with this. I haven't had the experience. So I can't speak on it. I can't speak on having dated outside of my race. I have not. But I know that I come in contact with a lot of young women. I teach with a lot of young women who are in environments where there are few African American men, or if they are, African American men in that particular environment, they don't gravitate toward them, or they don't even gravitate toward the young ladies. They're gravitating toward the young ladies in other cultures and other races. So
mm,
that leaves the young black women like, okay, so if you can do it, why can't I? Right? And why do I
mm.
get so much flack if I step outside of it? So that's just a different perspective that I have on it. That's all.
No, 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 no. I can dig that. And then on the flip side, when I think of the brothers,
Mm-hmm.
um, who date, outside, and I see them with Karens and Becky's. Um, I sit back and I think about how it is a book by Dr. Stephanie Rogers called "They Were Her Property."
Mm-hmm.
And in that book, she talked about how, white women would go to the auction block and buy, you know, black men. And not even that. Sometimes she inherited, black men, black people, from her father. Sometimes these white men passed and they didn't have, sons. They may have daughters. And so black people were literally passed down to these women. I think they said at one point, Dr. Rogers said that like 40% of the slave owners were white women. And in her book, she says that the white women were just as brutal, as their white male counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she also would fetishize, a lot of those white women fetishized black men and forced black men to have sex with them. So I'm thinking like, wow. And then today, you're choosing, right, to date and to marry the very same group of people, right? I'm sorry, the very same group of women,
Right.
um, who who were responsible for that, who were responsible for getting you lynched. Remember Ida B. Wells. Remember, black men were painted as sexual predators.
Mm-hmm.
And it was and people were saying, well, that's why black men are getting lynched. They're getting lynched because they're sexual predators. And Ida B. Wells, she was a journalist, and she was traveling, and she was investigating the lynchings that were taking place. And what she found out was, well, no, black men aren't preying on white women. These are black men who are, most of them were business owners,
Mhm.
and they were being lynched due to economic envy,
Mhm.
right? And the fact that the white folks didn't, the white men didn't want to compete with them, economically, and so they would lynch them. And I'm thinking about a particular incident that happened at the People's Grocery Store. I believe that was in Tennessee. Somebody help me out in the chat. I think it was in Tennessee, and I believe that the owner was a friend of Ida B. Wells, and he was lynched by a white guy who had a store across the street,
Mhm.
simply because he did not want to compete. And so I'm sitting here, like I said, when I'm thinking about these men today, black men today who choose to date white women, I'm thinking, are you ignorant of the history, or do you know the history and you just ignore it? Because these were the same group of women who were responsible for your captivity, your lynching. These are the same group of women who today, I don't even have to go back, who today have called the police, on black men. I remember there's some black men who were barbecuing. They called a barbecue Becky. This was some years ago. These black men were barbecuing in the park, and Becky ended up calling the police on them. And then you had one guy, I think he was bird watching or something, and then Becky called the police. So they've never changed. The nature of these people have never changed. The people that we are dealing with, you know how they say, uh, I believe this is a Christian saying, like Jesus is the same, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Well, I say that about people. And the one thing you taught me, Letitia, is that human behavior is consistent. So the same stuff that we see right now in the 21st century, it's the same character, the same personalities that we saw back then. So why would you want to marry that? Because when you marry someone, you're marrying their history, you're marrying their culture, and you're marrying their psychology. And this society that's set up is undoubtedly anti-black, anti-African. So why would we want to marry a culture, a people, right? A history that is anti-us? Don't under I just don't understand it.
Well, I think you
Um,
would have to have a person who has that wealth of knowledge as well. As you just spit out all of those facts, I mean, you have to realize that all of that isn't taught necessarily in the educational system that most of our individuals go through. And then you have to understand that a lot of, if you talk about young black men, they're conditioned either to date lighter or white women, right? So that's how they've been conditioned, unless someone else has taught them differently or they taught themselves differently, right?
mm,
And so that's just something that historically we know that that happens. But I guess my question is, for instance, for the younger generation that's going out and say they're dating allies, right? They're dating allies to our particular race, and they decide we're going to go with that person. That person is going to work with me as far as um, building and rebuilding um, what's broken in the community, and they want to stand side by side with that individual to do so. What do you think about that? In essence, do you not think that that person can continue to build although they're not black? So say I'm thinking about and I don't know the history of these people, but I know Childish Gambino put out some music that was um interesting, but he also married a Caucasian woman, correct? And you have some of these different artists who have, but they still, I'm not saying that they all the way down for the cause, but I think that they still speak out for injustice, I guess I would say. So do you think that they cannot do that if they're not married to someone within their same race?
so you can speak about it and say whatever you want to say, but I think that the highest expression of love is when you want to marry someone who looks like you, right? When you want to
Mhm.
reproduce someone who looks like you, and the only way you can do that is
Yeah,
by getting with someone who looks like you.
right.
um so I mean, people who, so basically they talk in black and sleep white. I don't listen to people like that.
Mm.
I, I don't listen to people who talk black and sleep white. I mean, so they can talk and say whatever they want to say, about blackness and about improving, the plight of black people, they can say whatever they want to say, and that's fine with me. It's your prerogative. You have the right to say whatever you want to say. I'm just saying that for me, I don't trust anyone who talks black but then sleeps white. I know that a lot of people love Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp says a lot of great things. Like, I've listened to the brother. I don't listen to him consistently, but I have heard his perspective on certain topics, and I'm like, wow, okay. Like, I'm talking about as it pertains to like racism and discrimination, and so I'm like, wow, this brother, But then I did some digging, and he loves the Beckys, right? I don't trust people like that. Like I said, who will talk b- black and sleep white. Because then I start having questions. My question is, why does this person suffer from some self-hate? Why, so I have a lot of questions for that person. Because if you're so blackety black, blackety black, blackety black, why didn't you choose to date a black man or black woman, or marry a black man or black woman? So you ain't that blackety black, right? Like, it sounds good, but at night you're sleeping next to, Becky or Ken or whomever, right? And so, and I know you also mentioned the ally. I would quote Dr. John Henry Clark in that, we have no friends. I was looking at, I know that during the George Floyd, I guess you would say, I don't know, riots or uprisings, when George Floyd was murdered by police officers, uh, people were so excited, that, oh my goodness, everybody, when it happened, you heard it around the world. We all got together, and people went to different protests, and there were white people out there, young white people were out there, with black people, and there were people like, oh, it's such a beautiful thing. We all, oh. But at the end of the day, if these people were really our allies, and I'm talking about white people specifically that came out, why aren't they working to destroy the system of racism and white supremacy? If they're really our allies, why aren't they right there in the reparations fight for us, right? Yeah, give these black people reparations. Why aren't they pressing up on the politicians just like we pressing up on they're not, at the end of the day. So I always say we don't have any friends. The Latinas, they don't help us out. The Asians, they don't help us out. The whites, I mean, I've met some nice white folks. Shout out to, I'm sitting here thinking about Tawanda West, the West family, and she has her West Wednesdays here in Baltimore. And there are a couple of white people who come out to support her fight for her fight for justice for her brother Tyrone West, who was brutally murdered by Baltimore police. I think it was like 12 police officers who attacked him. But there are a couple of white people that come out, a couple of whites will come out, but collectively, we don't have any friends. We don't have any friends. So people say our allies, and I look around and say, where are the allies? Are you talking about those two white people that's standing in the line with us? I'm just saying it. So for me, I would say we don't have any allies. We're in this, and we're in this by ourselves. So marrying an ally, like I said, I don't feel like we have any. Um, and then also, if you've married because you said they talk black but sleep white, can they not talk black? Like I said, I don't trust people like that, because when you marry somebody, you're telling me that that's what you value ultimately. That's what you love ultimately. Like your mate, right? Your mate, the person you choose to be with, is a reflection of you. Your mate is a reflection of you, right? So it's you. It's kind of like an incarnation of you. That's a reflection of you. So if you are a black man or you are a black woman, right, and you decide to date a white person, what does that say about you? What does that say about your consciousness? What does that say about your level of self-love? Because like I said, the ultimate expression of self-love is when you can love someone who looks like you, and you want to reproduce yourself. I can't reproduce myself with um, someone who doesn't look like me, or of the same sex, right? But I can't reproduce myself with someone who does not look like me. All right, did you want to jump in there, Leticia? Oh, are the
I know
dogs
you
are the
heard
dogs
Foxes
barking?
in the background.
The dogs was back there like,
Yeah.
ow, ow.
I have a lot going on in the background. But as you were saying that, I was sitting there thinking, and I was thinking about how, okay, so if you want to marry someone, black who has a brown skin, but also who has a consciousness that is not of, you know, that's not African or Afrocentric, right?
Right.
How different is that? Because I think about,
Mm.
for instance, how Job, Job Thurgood Marshall was replaced by Clarence Thomas. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? Like two total opposite ends of the spectrum, but it is a black man, right? They were two black men, totally different though. And so my thing is that okay, I married him, he's black. I married her, she's black, but her consciousness is not. So I'm thinking, are we just doing it because it looks good? That's what we're saying that we're going to do. I'm just saying in certain situations, or are you marrying someone like you said that person is a reflection of you? Well, I'm marrying that person who is a reflection of the way that I'm thinking as well, right?
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely. That's what I mean by a reflection
right.
of you, your thought, your
Your, your
consciousness.
thought, your
Yeah.
consciousness. So if I'm marrying a person who despises everything black, right? So I have this African American man, or who's marrying this young lady who looks everything. Like she just has brown skin. Everything in her consciously is more like the dominant culture. I mean, you still, not that you're marrying someone Caucasian, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that if you value that, right? Um, I don't know if it just makes it right because we have the same skin tone, if I'm making sense.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
I
I
don't,
told
so I'm just thinking like if you,
No,
again,
I'm with you. No,
yeah,
no, I'm with you saying no, I'm with
I
you.
don't
Like
have the experience, but what I'm saying is at this point, sometimes I feel like people should be able to love who they love. And I understand everything. Again, we have all these talks. I understand exactly where you're coming from. But what I'm saying is that the young people growing up now do not have, not all, some do not have all of that history, and they don't have that mentality. They just like, look, we tired of all these rules that have been placed on us, right? We just want to live our lives. So I want to date who I want to date when I want to date them,
no,
right?
no, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with
and
you
you
100.
just and you see that whole thing, and you like, I don't know if they're necessarily wrong in that. Now, don't get me wrong. I want you to know your history. I want you to make an informed decision. You're gonna make an informed decision. This is their history. This is my history. This is what I'm walking into. Right. I don't want you going in ignorant, into the situation without the knowledge. But if they decide to do so, and I know you're saying you don't trust a person like that, but I don't know if they should receive as much flack as they do receive. That's just my opinion. And I know the older I get, maybe the softer I get. I don't know. But
No,
I
no,
just,
no,
I
no.
just,
But I hear what you're saying. You're saying like, and I would say all skin folk ain't kin folk. So like you said, there's a lot of people, who are black white supremacists. So
mhm,
they may have our skin tone, but they aren't us,
mhm.
right? No, I wouldn't want to marry someone like that just for the sake of saying I'm marrying black. No, absolutely. No, 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 no. We have to be of the same like remember I said shared experience, I'm sorry, shared history, shared culture, shared psychology, right? And so
So,
someone like that, I wouldn't we don't what do we have in common? I'm out here trying to elevate and advance, my people, our people. And so I could never date someone just for the sake of saying, oh, it's a black person, but this person has a European consciousness. Absolutely not. You know, um, absolutely not. And so, like you said, marrying someone like that, basically, you're talking about marrying an Oreo cookie. It's like marrying somebody on, black on the outside, but white on the inside. And I wouldn't say just marry that person just simply because of their skin color. I wouldn't say that at all. But what else was I getting ready to say? Because it was something that you said, and you said people shouldn't receive a lot of flack for doing it. I'm at a point in my life where they say let the fools be the fools, and not saying that you're a fool because you did outside of your race. I'm just using that saying like if that's what you choose to do, I'm not trying to convince anybody anymore. I'm at that point in my life. Um, I remember in my early 20s. Look, now I'm in my early 40s. In my early 20s, I'm battling, I'm with the information, I'm going off, I'm quoting, Nana Marimba and me. I'm going into the Yorugu, I'm going into all of this stuff and looking at, just battling folks, battling their ideologies, battling their choices, battling their decisions. Um, at in my early 40s, um, I'm tired. I'm at a point. I remember reading this African proverb that said, "When the student is ready, the teacher shall appear." Right? When the student is ready, the teacher shall appear. So I want to build with people who are of like minds, right? Like minds. We have the same agenda. We have the same commitment to advance. And I want to build with. I'm not want to. I'm building with people like that. The rest of the folks, if you want to date, black men, if you want to date white men and white women, or Asian, or blue, yellow, purple, green, the do you? I'm at that point because we don't have time. We don't have time to convince. We don't have time to save everybody. We just don't have time. And Huey P. Newton said all we need is a vanguard. We don't need everybody. We don't need the collective. He said, let's just get a vanguard of people. And so I'm at that point where if that's what you want to do, by all means, do it. Live your life. Like you said, it's my life. Isn't that what the young people say? It's my life. I make my, go ahead and make your decisions. Make your decisions. And your decisions will get you wherever it gets you. But for me, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to continue to maintain my Africanity. I'm going to continue to try to do the best I can to build for Black people. Um, that's where I am. I don't have the time nor the energy to waste on people who are clearly lost, right? Clearly lost. I used to want to save everybody, and it was painful for me to accept that everybody just can't be saved. Remember that song? Don't save her. She don't want to be saved. Don't say. She just can't save everybody. And that was a hard pill for me to swallow. I'm like, dang, I want to save the world. But if they don't want to be saved, then what can I do? And I got to preserve my energy for the ones who want to be saved, and preserve my resources for the people who want to be saved, the people who want the information, the people who want to use the information to transform their lives, the people who want to use the information to transform their families, the people who want to use the information to transform their communities and to transform our people. That's what I want to do. I don't have time for the Sambos. I don't have time for the bed wenches. I don't have time for those characters. I just don't. And that's where I am. More power to them, if that's what they want to do. But I think that people do have their reasons for dating outside of their race, or dating or marrying. And Bobby Brown, is your prerogative. That's what you want to do it, boo. But for me and what I want to accomplish
Right. For me
is
in my
no
house,
good for
that's
me.
what
Yeah,
you're saying. For
but
me in
as for me in my house, I will certainly choose this day.
that's
I
right.
remember my mother had that on the wall in the kitchen when I was growing up. And I used to look at it. It said, choose this day whom you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So I'm with you, choose. But for me and mine, and what we're going to do over here is what we're going to do over here. I just think that integration, I think that we forgot who we are. And that's the danger of what's happening. I know you said earlier the young people don't have that information. See, that's the danger of lack of knowledge of self. That's the danger of being ignorant of your history. You know, if I think if these young people actually understood the history, they would be like, nah, I ain't going over there. I'm not dating her. I'm not dating him. You know, if they had the same connection with our ancestors, I'm thinking about the connection that I had with our ancestors, that same reverence and connection, they wouldn't even think about it. These people, I'm like, do you know what these people did to us and still is doing to us? And you want to marry that? It's mind-boggling. But this is what happens when you control the educational system, when you control the media. Remember, you said these brothers, oh, I just want to date someone light skinned. And we talked about that earlier, right? How you have these brothers, or these young brothers nowadays, they want to date a foreign. What they say, I want a foreign. I want a foreign. I want something that looked like it just got out the boat. I just want. Yeah, they're listening to music, watching a lot of music videos,
Yeah,
and these
that's
messages are
motivation.
being embedded, and they see it, and then they tell you this. It's just a preference. I just like what I like. No, you just don't like what you like. Everything that you say you like has been manufactured. It's been presented to you. So that's why I have when people say, well, love is just love. I question that. Is love love in a European hegemonic society? We're under European domination. We've been so for over 400 years, right? So when you love a European man or a European woman, right? Is it really love? Is it really love? Understanding that you've been under the domination of these people, understanding that you've been acculturated by these people, understanding that these are the people who are in power. Is it really love? Because to me, that's like saying that who was the Hemming? I'm thinking about, is it Sally Hemings? Come on, tell me in the chat. Sally Hemings, was that the young lady that was raped by Thomas
That's
Jefferson? And
something.
then you had historical revisionists
And
saying
they
that they were in love and they had some babies. It was
but
love.
it not the it wasn't the
And,
yeah.
and I'm thinking, I'm like, well, he was her owner, right?
Um,
Like he was her slave master or slave owner,
mhm.
and she was in captivity, right? So they get together, and you're telling me that was
Was it a
love?
choice? Right. Was it a choice?
Right.
That's
So to me, when I'm looking at us in them and us being under their rulership, their dominance, when we say we love them, is that love? What are your thoughts, Leticia?
once again, there's a lot going on over here. But I would say I, I don't know if I don't know if that's impossible right now. I understand it's still a power dynamic. I do understand that
Right.
completely. It's still a power dynamic. But again, just after conversating and just talking with these different individuals, in their mind, this is what I'll say because I can't speak for them. In their mind, they are choosing um, to try something different in order to achieve whatever happiness they believe that they want to achieve. And for me or someone else to say, and like I said before, I want them to make an informed decision, right? I want you to know your history while you're doing this. But also, I don't know if I would stand, I would never stand in their way. I would say, listen, if this is something that you want to try, try it out. And if it works for you, it works for you. However that looks, we only have this one life to live, right? And, if you find some sort of happiness in it, however it looks to you, who am I to say that that is particularly wrong? I mean, so I think that's just a standpoint, I have on that, idea. But I'm always people first. I'm like, I'm a feeler. And I'm like, if it makes you happy, if you like it, I'm happy for you in that. I may not agree wholeheartedly, I might not agree with what's going on. But if I saw you in one situation and now I see you in this one, and you're clearly a better person for it, I don't know if I'm going to argue that that's not what you should do. So that's
Let,
just my stance on
let me ask you a question.
that.
Should personal happiness trump um our collective well-being? So I hear a lot of people say, I'm making these decisions. Oh, let me put you on mute. You heard him put it on mute. The dog said, "Arr!" As soon as I started speaking. So be quiet, Sebi. No, I don't know if Sebi came. But should personal happiness, right, trump our collective well-being? So I just hear people say things like, I made this decision for me. Um, this is the best decision for me. What about us? And I mean, you get what I'm saying? Like a lot of the times that's what I hear. And then we just go along with it like, well, as long as it makes you happy, as long as I'm
But
just happy.
I don't know. I guess you could say that, you could expand that to all forms of life. People who decide to date outside they race, people who decides to have non-traditional, relationships. If you think about, different things like that, then people are I think it can always be an argument launched too. If you're trying to preserve your community, if you're trying to preserve, say, the human race, and there's certain things that you cannot do, right? It
Well,
can always
that's
be an
true.
argument launched against that.
That's
But
true.
I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know if people think collectively.
No,
It's
we
we
don't.
don't think collectively. We don't think, say, this decision is going to affect every other decision that I'll make. We don't think like that, and we weren't groomed to think like that. Since we landed here. So I would say that, in my opinion, that if we had that type of thought where we were going to preserve our own community, absolutely. But that is so far from us now. I
Mm,
don't think that that is, you know, that is something that comes up when someone is trying to date and move forward in a relationship. I don't think that's a priority, I guess I should say, in who you choose to live the rest of your life with.
mm. Okay.
But,
All right. Mm.
again, my opinion.
Look, look, they are going off in the
I'm
comments.
sure. I'm
They
sure.
going, no, 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 no. They're saying, I'm laughing at Walter Sniper. He said Walter Sniper going off. I had to put Walter's comments on
Okay.
there, boy. He said, look at these comments. I know, man. I looked at it and shout out to Sister CK, the poet. I see she's in the building.
Mhm.
She said it's hard to be racist when you have children and grandchildren that are mixed.
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
so that's what
They're
she
your
said.
babies. They are your babies, right?
Yeah,
If you look at that.
where's Walter? Walter said, "Man, water." Well, sorry, water. I said Walter. Water sniper. Water sniper. That's what I meant to say. He said, "Look at these
You call it.
comments." Absolutely. Oh, I don't know what's going on, but Sister CK says, "Why is everything black women fault?" So I don't know what they talking about in the comments. But check this out, family. I just dropped the link. I just dropped the link in the chat. I'm opening up the floor. If you have a comment, come on in.
Okay.
If you have a comment, come on in. I'm opening the floor up. Letitia, don't run yet. I told you 1 hour. You about to kind of,
I
but
am.
we
I'm about to go do it. 10 minutes.
look.
10 minutes.
So come on in, family. Come on in. I want to hear for Water Sniper too. The link is in the chat, family. Come on in. Come on in. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts. But peace to everybody in the chat. Peace to Trigger Man. I see D Centavo. That's Chaotic is in the building. I think I already said CK the Poet is in the building. I be me. I see Todd 313. The Queen's sister Almina. Uh-oh. As soon as I said her name, Letitia, she popped in. Peace to the Queen. You are on the air, Queen. You have the floor.
Hey Doc, how you doing?
I'm fine, beloved. How are you?
Oh well. Hey sister, how are you?
You got to unmute.
Oh, okay,
She got to unmute.
okay.
Letitia, you want to unmute or you had to
Yes,
go?
I'm sorry.
Okay, never mind. Okay, there we
Good
go.
evening.
Okay, we
Okay,
got
okay, okay.
it.
She got Wild Kingdom over there. Okay.
But go with Queen. You got the
I,
floor.
I personally, I can't fathom, and I couldn't fathom, um, even indulging. My husband is not from the United States. My husband was born in the UK, but he is Nigerian, and he was raised in Nigeria from the age of, say, I think about 6 or 7 to the age of 19, and then he left and went to university in UK. But he was born and partially raised in England, and he asked me while we were dating if I had ever considered um, dating a Caucasian man, and I said no, that's not even possible. To
Mm,
me, that's like tethering myself to my oppressor,
mm,
because I don't think that I think for the most part they are raised a particular way to have a particular mindset about us, and a lot of it of how they feel about us when they get to know us is it's like an experiment. They're trying to see if all the lies are true, and when I wasn't fully engaged in who I am in terms of my identity, I did think maybe was possible, but I was young and I thought the world was like, rose colored glasses. And I thought, what's the problem with that? But you have to understand, we've been indoctrinated with that mindset that even through television, like, oh, that's not a problem. Until it is a problem, right? Um, my parents, their co-workers, they invited over our home. They were Italian, Jamaican, African, German, Polish. So I just thought that's what the world was like in terms of acceptance until I interned for a husband and wife law firm when I was in high school. And I went to the courthouse to find out not necessarily so. It's
Hmm.
not just because it looked like that in your household, that's not what the real world is like. And my parents raised us to be prideful, not arrogant, be leaders, not followers. My mother at an early age, in terms of her children, taught us, about Ile Ife, about
Mm.
and that seed sown, it resonated with me. And until I became a certain age, about maybe 11, 12, I felt my ancestral spirit said that your husband will not be from this country, and he isn't, and he isn't. So I knew from a long time that my husband would not be like me, born on this land. And my mother said, what are you doing? Are you going back home? Is that what you're doing? I said, yeah, I guess I am. And it's just little, she probably forgot herself what she was sowing inside me when that first exchange, that first interaction with Ife and all of that. And, it was like drumming up my ancestors. So from that point onward, there is no way. Yeah, have I seen attractive looking white men? Yeah, I have, but not enough to indulge, not enough to trip the light fantastic or step over, or I didn't feel that comfortable. To me, I was not, I did not feel comfortable. I don't want to be, I don't want to be picked apart and to find out how we work. Like, you unscrew a radio and you take the parts out and people trying to see how you work to see if the lies are true.
Mm.
I want someone who gets me. I want someone who understands me. I want someone who I don't have to explain everything to. I don't want to have to re-educate you on that level. And then when you learn about the oppression and all of it, or just whatever you learn, it's too much.
Mm.
And I personally can't. I don't like everything that my people do, but I love my people.
Mm.
So that's
Ashe.
just for me.
Ashe. Well, Queen, thank you so much for coming on and
My
sharing
pleasure,
your
doctor.
experience. And where's your husband again? I don't know if I caught it. Where's he from again?
He was born in the UK, but he's Nigerian,
Okay,
Yoruba.
okay. Okay, you're okay, okay. So yeah, I didn't catch it, but yeah, thank you so much for
You're
for
welcome.
sharing your experience. I love when you come on. It's always wisdom.
Oh, thank you,
Always
doc.
wisdom.
Thank you for the
Always.
opportunity. Thank
But
you.
thank you, Queen. And I didn't forget about the shirt. I still got to get
I'm not
mine.
worried about it. It happens when it happens. But I
Yes,
just thank
Queen.
you for always looking out for me, and thank you for hearing me, and you've blessed
Absolutely.
me more than you know. Thank you, doctor.
Absolutely. Thank you. And you've blessed me more than you know, Queen. And so I'll see
Thank
you
you.
on Sunday. See you
All
on
right
Sunday
then.
for the book club.
I'm there.
All right, Queen. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Got it.
All right, Queen. I'll see you Sunday. All right. Peace and love to you, Brother Kevin C. Brother Kevin C., you have the floor, King. How are you?
Hello, Professor. Hello, ma'am, and everybody else in the chat and to the panel.
Yes.
I hope everybody's having a wonderful night. I saw your moves there, Professor, and you look good. You still look, you still got it. You maybe could join him on stage. I don't know, but you're tracking. Hey,
Thank you
so
so much, King.
yeah, this is a good topic. You ladies have a good discussion, and the thing is that So I don't know. I guess I've had a different experience with this only because, I was in the military for decades, right?
Okay.
Well, not decades. When it's decades, sounds like I was in for like 40, 50 years. No, I was several decades, right? So that was my experience from when I was a young man all the way up. And over the course of over that time frame, I saw a lot of, mixed race, interracial couples. Because, guys go overseas, they find a wife, or, they do a whole bunch of other stuff and everything else. I know guys when I grew up as a young lad, I was on a military base. Well, not on a military base, but in and around a naval air station. And I saw a lot of mixed race, kids. So I didn't think too much of it. And then when I went into the military, it was just like a natural transition. And I didn't really, the problem with the military, if you want to call it a problem, is that it gives you a distorted microcosm of what the rest of society is doing. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's all cool in and around that area. And there's not a whole lot of racism and a lot of issues and problems. There's some of it, but people kind of have this whole mix of races, cultures, languages, and everything else. So it gives you this false sense of everybody's getting along. But once you get away from that, I was in for a long time. And what I realized once I got away from that is that it's not all roses out here. And you'll remember, once we had, President Obama come in, and then we started getting the backlash, and then you get Trump, and then it gets greater and greater and greater. There was a time period, and I think a lot of us can remember this, where we always had systemic racism. We always had the structural stuff in place. We always had, some things going on. There was incidents here and there, but it wasn't as pronounced as it is. But I would say, going interracial right now, and then, thinking about marriage and dating and everything else, it can seem problematic at certain points in history, whereas other times it's not as problematic. That's kind of the things that I'm seeing, and I'm evolving on this. And the reason is that it's all kind of subject to availability, meaning that we kind of have this idea that every Black person out here is available and suitable for marriage. And what I'm finding out is that's just not the case. That's not to downgrade or talk bad on my people. But at one point, we kind of had this idea. I kind of thought that, okay, if somebody wanted to get married and, produce within the race and all this other stuff and everything else and marry somebody within the race, then it would be easier to find. And what I'm finding is that it's not as easy as everybody thinks. Because when we look at the overall marriage rates, we're only at 30%. That's men and women combined, Black men and women combined. We're only at 30%. That's not really good. So why are we not? So it comes down to, why are we not marrying? So are the people within the group, are they not suitable enough? And then if there's not enough suitable people in the race, then you either got to go outside of the race or go outside of the country and find somebody who's Black. Now, my wife is Afro-Latina, right? So she's got Ifuna. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Professor. Are you?
No.
Okay, so that's Central America, right? So she's got Ifuna, but she's Afro-Latina of West African origin. So, when people look at her and look at me, both of us are, the same color, right? Same skin tone. So they think she's an American, but she speaks Spanish. It's her first language. So it's just kind of interesting in that way. And one of the reasons that it's nice being married to her is that, it keeps me obviously Black adjacent, but within a different culture. So it kind of goes to that other thing where, okay, so if you kind of go outside of your culture, but within the race, but it's intracultural, then that's another dynamic as well. Because you're still marrying Black, but then, some people kind of feel funny about that too, because you somehow couldn't figure out how to get a Black woman within your own country. See what I'm saying? So there's a lot going on. So it's an availability thing. And I thought that we'd have a lot more luck with it as far as finding somebody who's suitable. But I think that's one of the issues. So that's how you get the divestment movement. That's how, or I don't know. I don't want to talk too much about the divestors, but maybe the people who kind of dabble in and out of the race. They date Black and everybody else. They don't dismiss Black people, but because they're having trouble finding somebody Black, now they got to consider somebody else who's maybe not Black. So it's just a lot going on with it, and I'm not making excuses. I'm just thinking.
No, brother. I don't.
These are the things that I think about when I look at this, because I got kids, right? And I'm like, hey, I was thinking, I had the idea, and I've been raising them to kind of look at, marry somebody Black, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to force it or push it or overdo it too much, because when I listen to the things that they're dealing with out here and what's available, I'm like, I don't know if it's going to happen. So, we have to have some flexibility with it. And then this is the other thing too. And, and you guys can, let me know how you feel about this. Maybe some people in the panel or the chat, but, I kind of look at it like I've seen where there are interracial couples, but I see where the non-black person like really goes out of their way to be a part of black culture, learn black history, and actually inculcate themselves within the culture. I've seen that. And then I've also seen people completely screw it up too. Like, I'm not really interested. So that's the other extreme. So you have the people who are non-black, but they are really, part of what black people are doing, and they understand the issues. And it's not a whole lot of. Matter of fact, they want to learn. And I was watching. I don't know if you remember that show. My wife and I watched that show, The Bachelorette, and I'll shut up here because I know other people want to talk. But I watched that show, The Bachelorette, and the only season I watched was the one with the black woman, right? Because I want to see who she's going to end up with. And it was fine that she ended up with the non-black man, but then I looked at follow-up interviews with her and stuff like that, and she was talking about how she had to explain, and I was like, and to one point, the dude said her husband was like, "Well, are they married? I don't know." Well, I know they were at least engaged to be married, but the thing is that he was asking, "Do you get tired of explaining stuff to me?" And she was like, "No." That's because he's willing to listen, and that's probably the difference. So like he's interested in the culture, he's interested in her, he loves her enough to actually listen to her, understand her experience, and then not give a whole lot of pushback, and then actually try to be a part of what's going on. Plus, on top of that, he's white, but he's Latino white or whatever, something like that. So he looks white, but he's Latino. So him being a minority actually helps if that speaks to what they got going on. It's just that I kind of wanted to cover the spectrum because I've seen it all kinds of ways, but then now I'm thinking about, do we have enough people that are eligible enough and good enough to actually be married when I look at the overall marriage rate? Because I think we can argue that IR marriage or going outside of the race is a problem, but my real argument is that we're not getting married enough as a group. And then when we do marry, remember that when we do marry, we married a rate of 85. When black men marry, they married black women at a rate of 85%. And then when black women marry, they marry black men at a rate of 93%. So most black people are marrying each other. It's I'd say we're not getting married enough. That would be my problem.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Brother C, for your input, man. Appreciate you coming on, King, and just, sharing your thoughts. You said a lot. You said a lot. And it was a lot.
To think about. Yeah. I know you can go back and look at this and see, and you can come up with a whole bunch of other stuff. I kind of threw a lot in there. So yeah. Think about that. Maybe you might want to do a follow-up on it because I hear how I heard your points of view. And you're a bit, like firm in it, and that's good. But then, I'm trying to be flexible with it too because I see the complications. So I don't know. All right, but thanks, Professor.
Hey, no problem, King. No problem.
Yeah, you guys take care.
You do the same. Thank you so much for coming in and speaking your, speak your speech. So thank you so much for speaking your speech. Brother Africa in Detroit. I think that's a young warrior in the building. Brother Africa in Detroit, young warrior.
Peace, sisters. Peace
and love to you, brother. How are you?
I just wanted to. I'm doing fine. How are you? How are you guys?
We're doing all right.
But I just wanted to speak from my perspective. I feel that just to add on the part of what he said, because brother said a lot, but I wanted to just add on to the part of he said that of the statistics and how we should. Maybe I feel as though a lot of black men like to tiptoe around the fact that white women is just as complicit as white men in everything that happened. And so I feel that a lot of time we just put it on just white men, and for some reason it's like I just watched the movie Buck Breaking not too long ago, and I actually got to watch it, and I actually started noticing that even among black men, we sexualize just everything. Like we've never got out of that in like just sex itself. We are hyper sexualizing everything. Like a lot of black men won't like admit it that this like with women, that's the most thing we talk about. And so that culture is still like pervasive. And I was telling my friend about Buck Breaking, and black men are scared to talk about that. Like they feel like it's emasculate them to talk about our history of that, of knowing what they did to us, to talk about the sexual. I told one of my another black brother, I told him that about how white women could even rape us. And he laughing, thinking it's funny and saying like, well, I will allow it. I like that. And I'm looking at him like that's how deep it is. And just in our culture, it normalized. And and that's just basically what I wanted to say about that. That it's really deep, and just like in that movie of why black women and men, it seems like it's a gender argument. People don't realize that all of these things stem from slavery. Like the uh, the argument of they say a strong black woman, a black woman in slavery didn't get the chance to have the woman role.
Mm.
And people talking like that. We didn't have the chance to be have a men's role. We to protect and provide like people talk about, and we allow white civilizations conversations to bleed into us and think these arguments like we haven't even healed from those wounds, and we talking about, well, maybe we could be loose with dating outside our race when we haven't even fixed the shambles of all of this trauma in the black family. We can't
Mm.
even fix that. And we saying be a little just think about just that discouraging talk about our own race, saying that maybe we should be loose. It's not enough people up to the par for us to date, for our kids to date. I'm 22 years old. You know how that make me feel hearing older black people saying that it might not be enough people out here, black people good enough for y'all children.
Mm.
That's like, do y'all hear yourself? That's discouraging. But
Teach, brother.
that's
Teach, young
sister. I'm
warrior.
sorry. I'm feeling a bit passionate about that, but
No, speak your
that's a bit
speech.
all I had to say though.
No,
Thank you,
you
sister.
and yet what you said was powerful. You said a whole lot. You talked about the need for black people, the need for us to heal from our trauma. You know, and you said a lot of that trauma go back to the slavery days, and you just said, hey, we still haven't healed from that. You talked about that. You talked about the over sexualization of black men. You talked about that. You talked about how black people, particularly black men, don't acknowledge the how white women were just as complicit in our captivity as white men. And so, young warrior, you're on the right track. Keep on reading, keep on studying. And I love that fire in your voice. So keep on being that young warrior. But thank you so much, young warrior, for coming on and sharing your thoughts on this topic. But he said, do you hear yourself? Because that brother Kevin C said the availability. So he like, man, I'm 22. So you mean to tell me that it's going to be hard for me to go out here to find a wife? Like, what are you talking about? And from a 22-year-old perspective, if I was 22, I'd be discouraged listening to that too. And so, young warrior, don't give up. Don't give up. You're going to find your queen. So I don't want you to be discouraged. I want you to be encouraged. Don't be discouraged. Be encouraged. Ashe?
Thank you, sisters. I'm not discouraged. I was just speaking it because that's just what our own people. It just goes to show how we think, like how it's stuck in our heads that we
Mm-hmm,
like.
mm-hmm.
I was listening to Neely Fuller, the ancestor, and a lot of the things, even though people won't listen, a lot of Amos Wilson, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, a lot of their things, if you look at their things, they all match up and it's in different ways of the greater system of racism. And people don't understand that black people, we can be just as racist to
Mm-hmm.
ourselves.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I said earlier, you got black white supremacists out here. But thank you so much, King, for coming through.
Thanks.
I'm gonna move on to brother Triggerman. Brother Triggerman, what's going on?
How you
Peace
doing?
and love to you. I'm doing fine, brother. You have the floor.
Okay. I think I kind of phased out of this space in the black consciousness. I was very big into it earlier. Because I've noticed that it seems to me that black women a while ago decided that black family wasn't important. We heard that black men aren't ish. We heard that you aren't necessary, black man. I can do this on my own. When Kevin C said that, hey, there's a lack of available people, what he's saying for marriage, for wives, I agree. In black women, there seems to be more black men that want marriage and want family in a traditional sense than black women. Black women don't seem to mind keep reproducing. The single motherhood is still continuing. And we can say, hey, you're dating outside your race, but these other women of other cultures value family a lot more. And that is a very deep value. That is the first value. That I can value my blackness, but I have to value that we're going to be together as a family first. So I think that value, especially when it comes to marriage, is the reason why I have a black wife myself, so I don't get it twisted. But I'm just advocating and seeing the other side of it. Why they will date a woman of another race is because the value of family is the most important value, and black women, by and large, I would argue, seem to have lost that value.
Okay, well, you're entitled to your opinion. I wholeheartedly disagree, but I mean, because I could say that it's on both sides. I wouldn't necessarily point the finger. It's things I could say, and I'm not, but it's things I can say about black men and how they contributed to the breakdown of the family as well. I don't think it's just a one-sided thing, right? But I'm not going to debate tonight. I'm not even for it. But if you are entitled to your perspective, so if you feel like the family went down the tubes because of black women, and you're entitled to your perspective. Again, you see that black women are still married. 92% of us are marrying black men. If you look at interracial dating, most of the black men are marrying out. Most of us are still marrying and holding on to that whole idea of IBM. So then someone would say, well, who's really the one leaving the black family? But again, I don't, want to do that. So if you think that it's black women, then you are entitled to your opinion. I would say that we have both contributed to the breakdown of the black family. So there are things that I think black men, like literally legitimate beefs that black men have with black women, and vice versa. I don't think it's a one-sided thing. I think we both have contributed to it. I've witnessed a lot. I've seen a lot, just as I'm sure you've witnessed a lot, and you've seen a lot. So I just wouldn't say collectively black women just don't want to get married and black women don't value family just collectively. Because like I said, there's some things that I could say about black men, but to me, it's not a pointing the finger thing, right? It's a how can we fix this thing? So thank you so much, Brother Triggerman, for coming on and sharing your thoughts. Brother Zank Tank, you have the floor, brother. Peace and love. Brother Zank Tank, you got to unmute yourself, brother. There
Oh,
you
I
go.
have myself. Okay, okay. How you doing, Doc? It's beautiful
Hey,
to talk to you.
hey, I'm doing all right, my brother. You seem young. You a young brother? One of the young
Yeah, I'm
warriors.
pretty.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I'm
you know
pretty
what?
young.
I really appreciate, to be honest with you, it's a lot of young Letitia. I gotta remember I talked a lot of young warriors coming through, in
Yeah.
their early 20s, middle 20s, late 20s, and early 30s coming through. And I appreciate you all supporting the platform. But what are your thoughts, brother? Peace and love to you. You have the floor.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking about what's your name? Letitia, right?
Letitia, huh?
Letitia. When Miss Letitia was talking about how like usually like you really got to be on some black power type stuff to really have that really feel these days like wanting to be with, what I'm saying, just somebody that's black. Like typically, like, a dude I went to high school with, he not gonna care who who you with as long as she got a nice round, you know, and she gonna cook and clean. He don't really care about the race. And like but really where that's how I was, but I had to change understand, history and what my sister's been through, and really understanding it and loving them. So like you really, especially in today's time, really got to go that extra mile to really care about and wanting to be with a black woman for real. Like, cause today,
Mm.
cause today it's so easy. Sex is so accessible, you know, with honestly any race. If you're in America, like it's some crazy girls. I'm gonna use the word crazy. It's some crazy girls in every race like that. So it's like it's accessible. It's just like I feel like, what I'm saying, if you're a black man, a part of, a good part of being a black man that, I guess we need to teach more is, is the love you gotta have for Black women. You know what I'm saying? That extra mile and stuff. So like for us to want to marry and to build a life with Black women, we gotta learn that, from a young age.
No, that's real.
we got we gotta learn that from a young age. Like today, you know, it's kind of, if you're not really thinking conscious, I ain't gonna say conscious, but if you're not thinking with a Black mindset, you really you really not even gonna care who you be with. You just gonna, do your thing out here.
No, that's real. That's real. And like you said, that's what Letitia was saying earlier. Like she was like the young people. I don't even think like, they even have that knowledge that you're talking about, knowledge of that history, that you're
Right.
talking about. And you're right. We live in an anti-black society. So it's anti, like, and then you're talking about Black women. Oh my goodness, Black women, and they're the ones that birth Blackness, right? So don't get her, go get her, and so like you said, that you have to go the extra mile to even want to be with a Black woman or be with a Black man. And that's why we always say in this society, Black love is
Yeah,
revolutionary, because
it is.
there's so many things that tell you don't date that. You don't have to go date the foreign. Go get Becky with the good hair. Isn't that what they
Oh,
said in the
oh,
songs?
it's right on Instagram. It's
Yeah,
all over,
go
it's
go
all
get
over there.
Becky. Yeah, go get Becky
It's
with the
all in the
good hair.
songs.
It's in the songs. It's in the media, right? So it's in the music. It's
Right.
in the
Oh, and when y'all
movies.
talking about Young Boy that day, Young Boy, I ain't gonna lie. I'm still a dude of my generation. Young Boy, one of my favorite artists, right? And that's all my boy talk about is getting, I mean, it be going stupid. My nigga go hard. But that's all he talk. I mean, it is what it is,
It is
right?
what it is. No,
You
no, that's
need it.
real. No, that's real. And so, like you said, you literally have to go out of your way, right?
You
Because you're in
got
this,
to.
yet to say that I'm gonna marry Black or I'm gonna stay. Because, like you said, it's so easy to do. And then you have the internet. Oh my goodness. I can only imagine, young brother, what you see on Twitter and TikTok and all the social media platforms. And
You
then
know,
you got the IG models and all of that.
Right. Yeah.
it's a and then
But
you think
yeah,
it's not even having to go out of your way. It's like you have to go out of your way to date one, and then you have to get over the idea of how Black women are portrayed, right? In media and all that. You're like, do I want to deal with all that? It's so much that you
right.
have to consciously seek it out and say, okay, let me go against the grain in order to make this work. And that's just the
Right.
reality of it, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely gotta do that. And it's all on like the person. It's all on the dude. If you want to marry a Black woman, you're gonna marry a Black woman. I want to marry a Black woman. So I'm gonna do that. You just gotta stay, you gotta want to. You gotta want to marry a Black woman. You know what I'm saying? You got to, want to have a Black family, build a strong Black family structure. You gotta, want to do that. You can't just like be out here, you know, all just in the clouds. You can't be in the clouds in this day and age. And a lot of dudes is these days just brain in the clouds.
Mm,
And
mm.
hmm
Well,
definitely.
brother, well, young warrior, thank you so much for coming on. I want to pass the mic to brother Rob, but thank you so
All
much,
right,
young warrior, for your
thank you.
opinion.
Y'all have a
No
good one.
problem, brother. You did the same, brother. But brother Rob, before I pass the mic to you, I got Trigger Man, brother. I sincerely hope that whoever hurt you, whatever Black woman hurt you, brother, I hope that you heal from it, because you in the chat portrayed a reality. I mean, come on, brother. You know that Black women are negatively portrayed in the media, just like Black men are. If I listen to the media, I would think that all Black men were drug dealers and criminals and killers. If I turn on, I live in Baltimore, so we cut on the news. Hell, I cut on the news earlier. Remember, Letitia, somebody, a 19-year-old, just shot a Morgan State University security officer at Marble Hall. Every day that I cut on the television, they constantly show young Black men committing crimes. They demonize. So I don't even want to go into. They demonize Black men. So I'm not sitting on the platform saying, "Is that portrayed or is that reality?" Because I understand what we're contending with. See, brother, you need to go back and listen to some Malcolm X speeches where he talks about the media, right? And you got to talk about that. So you saying, so you believe the media? That's what you're telling me. So the way they portray black women in the media, you believe it, and that's sad. That's really sad. So I'm not even going to waste any more energy. If you have a negative perception of black women, like I said, I pray for your healing. Whoever hurt you, brother, I pray for your healing. Brother Rob, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate you. I'm a big fan of you, Dr. Ma'at. You really, you're wonderful. You're perfect. And sister, your co-host, thank you. And yeah, the young bucks are really, they're representing. I'm like, wow, they're really giving us the knowledge. We have this attitude that, oh, these young cats, they don't know nothing, but there are some who are really studying and getting the knowledge. So
Absolutely.
thing, especially, and the last brother that came on, he talked about love. I think that is one of the biggest thing that is missing in all these discussions of relationships and connection is about loving. See, my thing is, whoever my queen will turn out to be, who'll come to me, I'm gonna have to love her, and she's gonna have to love me deep down with every essence of our soul. And that may sound like a corny cliche, but it's very important. It's very, very important, to have that love towards one another and everything we do and everything we're going to build, So that's what it's all about for me. But, the thing about it is that we need to also understand that, and we realize that it's about us being indoctrinated with all these negative attitude towards one another.
Absolutely.
The young brother who is really seeing all is because of black women's fault is that they're not interested in any type of relationships. It's like, young man, that's we done the same thing. We're the ones who, black men, we're the ones who were decided to creep out of the race, to step out and say that, oh, we see something beautiful with white women, or we see the American dream, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? That is the definition of a good life, being with a white girl. Now, we can't really be in a position to throw shade at the sisters because they're just emulating some of us, because some of them emulate what we've done, what some of us has done, seeing white women, abandoning them and seeing them as they're the part of the good life. But we've been duped, we've been had, wink. Malcolm said, led astray. You know what I'm saying? So, we have to really put that into position and understanding that, in terms of how the way we look at each other. And it's very important that you guys, both y'all, mention it about how the way we see ourselves and be very cautious of how we, look at each other in terms of, being with a black man or being with a black woman. It's I thought, my thing was like, hey, I just want a black woman, a beautiful black woman, and she loves, care, and respect for me. But I also have to realize I have to take precautions because there's some of them who may not be aligned with my consciousness, my awareness and stuff. So we definitely have to, be mindful of that as well. So, and like I said before, once again, it's like, we've been taught to hate each other. We've been taught to say this is, I can understand, sister, in terms of, making other choices, but these choices are based on society telling us, that, we are not, we're less than, what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? We're less than, So yeah, if you want to love, you to love another person, that's your thing, do your thing. But, the fact of the matter is that we've been indoctrinated to believing that there's something better on the other side. The grass is greener on the other side and stuff, So, but I'm not, and we need to be acknowledged to that. We need to study and read, love, learn, and each one teach one, and love ourselves. Get a clear understanding of our history, of our culture, understanding that we need to heal, and we're all in this together. That is why, Dr. Mott, your program is so important because we need to have that understanding and love for ourselves and stuff, and it helps us it assists us into have a greater understanding of who we are, so we can make these right decisions, whether in relationships, whether in business. It's important to do that. Before I leave, I want to ask the question to both y'all, in terms of the impact of feminism and the situation with the LGBTQ community. How is that impacting our connection, our relations with each other? So I'll take my question off the air.
Oh no, that was a beautiful question that you asked, because it certainly has impacted us. Letitia, did you want to go first, or did you want me to? You said go ahead.
Yes, go ahead first, Dr. Maya.
Yeah. So I was thinking, when you said feminism, man, that's when the white women, when they came and recruited us, and I'm mad at my man, so I want you to be mad with yours. So I want to. So then you had black women on it. Yeah, give us our rights, but the black men didn't have. Black men don't have the power that it's really the white men that are doing this stuff. And you mad, and you talking about men need to be doing this, but it's really her fight with her man, right? That's happening, right? So feminism definitely played a role in it. Feminism teaches women to be female centered, right? And I'm sitting here thinking about Dr. Clenora Ween Hudson, or Hudson Weens. I may be butchering her name, but she wrote a book called Africana Womanism, and she said that we should first focus on, of course, race and class. Then we could get into sexism, right? Like she said, but white women, for them, they don't have to worry about racism in class. She said their thing is they want to be equal to their man. They want that power. But with us, we're contending with racism. She said classism and definitely sexism, but she was saying that we should attack it in that order, right? Like, but with feminism is so we're female centered, basically. And in that book, she's encouraging black women to be family centered, not female centered. And she was saying when you're female centered, that is what causes the disruption or the breakdown between the black family, i.e. the relationship between black men and black women. Yes, sir.
Yeah, before I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think in terms of the brother that is having issues with black women, I guess I would say in somewhat of his defense, I think when we look at the issue of the term toxic masculinity, I think there's a sense that where they're not really geared that towards white men. I think it's really geared towards black men, in my opinion. And I remember a couple of years ago where there was an article by some brother who said that, and this is the quote, heterosexual black men are the white supremacists of black women. And I thought that was probably the most egregious, it was ridiculous. And it was not based on fact, it was based on somebody's opinion. And I thought that, I was like, dang, a lot of people took that. And so we have this, they want to talk about sexism, but they want to, like everything else, they want to gear that towards how black men are treating black women and stuff. So, and I might be wrong. I might be, overstepping that, but I just wanted to say that, but I'm sorry, but go ahead.
Oh, no, appreciate that. Sister Letitia, what are your thoughts on what he said? Do you think that the feminists and the LGBTQ movement impacted the relationships between black men and black women? Do you think they had a significant impact on the relationships between black men and black women?
I will try to do this quickly because I'm sorry, I have a lot going on in the background. There's a lot of noise. So I'm just going to try to do this quickly. One thing that resonated with me is that, I'm very transparent in my own story. And as far as the feminism part, I grew up with the idea of you have to be this strong, independent woman, right? And when we're raised to be these independent women, we don't know how to be family centered. So I was married twice, right? And divorced twice. And I say that with all honesty because you cannot be independent. You can't have a female-centered attitude and be within a family and it works successfully. Because
right.
You are only thinking about how things are going to work for you, right? So you're not worried about taking care of your man per se. I would honestly have to say that because in your mind, you're like, that's a sense of weakness, right? So that tears down the family in general. So on the feminism part, again, I had to learn that the hard way. Being independent means you take care of yourself. I don't have to worry, I don't have to have a man take care of me. Why not? At this age of 49, after having two husbands, I wish I had someone to take care of me,
Come on.
at one end of the spectrum to the other. So, again, the more we know, the better we should be. And I say, as far as the, I don't even want to touch the LGBT. I don't even want to touch the community, but all of that, I think, contributes to, of course, the breakdown of the family for us. That's just.
And at the same time, and also we have to realize as men, we need to be worthy of our attention to you. Because if we're not coming in, knowing that we got, you want to cater, you need to cater to us, we have to cater to you guys as well.
Absolutely.
That is the essence of being ma'at. One of the principles of ma'at is balance. And I am a strong believer of we should have balance in terms of loving each other and building each other. So. But anyway, well, that's, I really appreciate both you sisters coming on, and thank you very much. Thank you.
I appreciate you, King. Appreciate you for coming on. Sister Letitia, I know that you're going to run. I got Brother Brendan in the back, CK the poet, Yapo, but I know you say, I'm only going to give you 1 hour. So these the last 3. I don't know if you want to hang or if you're ready to go. You want to hang?
I'm going to listen.
All right. Okay. So let me put Brother Brendan and CK the poet and Brother Yapo. So I see Brother Brendan, you are in the building. You have the floor, Brother Brendan. Peace and love to you, beloved.
Hey, Dr. Mott, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear, brother.
Perfect. Yeah, I just woke up from a nap, but I saw this show and I was decided to finally hop on. I've been wanting to hop on for a minute. So dating or marrying outside of your race, ever justifiable? And I took a couple of notes after listening. I'm 23. And I come from a 2-parent household, both Black man, Black woman, one from Jackson, other from Miami. And what I've seen after graduating college is that there are a couple of things within the Black community circulating surrounding love and not understanding love. And the first one is that love has been reduced to sex, a transactional act that literally can be done anywhere, anytime. And it's like, if you can't get it, then you don't have love, right? And then another one, the fact, hitting on the dating or marrying outside of your race, ever justifiable, I would say it's only justifiable if you're ignorant of your history or arrogant towards it. And when I say that, I mean that if you're ignorant of your history, that means you don't have agency in your being. That means that you don't understand what exactly it means to marry a Black man or a Black woman coming from a Black family. You don't understand what love actually is. And then if you're arrogant, that just means that, once again, it ties back into that ignorance. It's a cycle that you don't really care about preserving that bloodline, preserving the Black love, the Black community that people have worked so hard to build. And when you start to dilute this, it just turns off everything, and then you start allowing for attacks on all fronts of the Black community. That's what I'll start off with.
No, that was a lot, Brother Brendan. Oh, let me mute you because I think I hear some feedback.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it's raining here.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard feedback on my end, but those were really, really great points. So your thing is, if someone is ignorant or arrogant towards the history, that's when it's justifiable. Because basically you're saying they don't know any better. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, so being transparent is, I'll say that when I was younger, and I know a lot of young Black boys that went through it as well, is I went to a predominantly white high school, middle school, etc., and all I saw was white girls. And the way that my dad told me, he said, Brendan, you want to date someone and you want to marry someone that acts like your mother, because that's the first person that's ever loved you. And so when I went to the school and I was surrounded predominantly by white girls, I didn't know anything of it. And I saw the way that the white women were carrying themselves versus the Black women or the Black girls that were carrying themselves. And it was a stark difference. And it just so that it matched up with my mom. So my mom, one day, she came to me and she was like, Brendan, I never see you date any girls. Do you like any girls at your school? And I said, yeah, there's a little girl that I like. And then I showed her a picture of a white girl and her face was just dismayed. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I didn't understand at the time. And then once I finally figured out what I had did, everything changed. But that was just the ignorance on my part. Was I took my dad's words or his guidance and he said, date someone that acts like your mother, basically portrays your mother's qualities, that's because that's the person that's going to really love you. And at the time, those were the type of girls in my school that looked like it. Then I got into college, and I went to Mississippi State University and got my aerospace engineering degree. And I saw a plethora of Black women, and it was just, I was at home then. And I've dated pretty much every girl that I've ever dated has been Black, and it's been the best experience, and the love has been just, it's second to none. Like it's amazing.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. And you said, how old are you, Brother Brendan?
23, about to turn 24.
Young warrior, young warrior. Thank you so much, Brother Brendan. And CK fell off. Okay, there she goes. I wanted to hand the floor on over to CK, but Brother Brendan, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your thoughts, weighing in on this topic.
Yes, ma'am.
Very, 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 very powerful. And brother, you got to come on back, okay?
Oh, I definitely will. Thank you.
All right. Peace and love to you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Sister CK, the poet, I saw in your in the chat, you said, what is this? Pointing, what you say, hating on Black women night? Because I don't know what's going on. Trigger Man in the chat, he going off. Black men, when we say when you tell us to be better men, we accept that. But when we tell y'all to be better Black women, you all don't accept that. Trigger Man, who are you hanging with, brother? What Black
I can
women
answer
are
that
you?
question, good sister.
Yeah, I'm just like,
Dr.
what
Maya.
Black? Yeah, look, I'm like, what Black women is Trigger Man hanging around that don't accept accountability?
It's not who he's hanging around, it's who he's
listening to.
Listening
Let's
to.
go. Okay,
We
let's
gonna
go,
get
Sister
into that.
CK. Let's go in. You
First,
have
I
the
would
floor.
like to start off by saying peace to a good sister, Dr. Maya, and other good sister. You're so beautiful. It's nice to have you here tonight. I almost always miss your shows, Dr. Maya, but shockingly, I made it tonight. I have to catch the replay. But
okay, cool. But thank you so much for coming on.
Lovely conversation. I definitely want to make sure I stay on topic starting out before I get into the madness. The topic of your channel tonight is dating or marrying outside of your race ever justifiable? Let's just keep it 100. Well, I mean, of course, I'm being opinionated here, but it's based on facts too as well. It shouldn't even be a question of is it justifiable? You know what I mean? If we just speaking scientifically, all of us are humans. We're all of the same species. You know what I mean? We may have different variations from living in different climates. So some of us are a little bit lighter, some of us are a little bit darker. The environment that we lived in, whether it was harsher or whatever, kind of shaped the culture. So some things have definitely changed over time, but we're all humans. We can all have kids together. If you have the same blood type, whether you're Black, white, or whatever, and guess what? If you need that transfusion, you can get it, or if you need an organ or whatever. You know what I mean? So, if you would have called me 10, 20 plus years ago in my lovely Nation of Islam days, I would have been pushing a decent amount of, I'm just going to call it 100, racist rhetoric towards white. Yeah. I don't even want to call it blackology. I just want to just call it what it is. It's the rhetoric that is pushed in the Nation of Islam. It is Black supremacist rhetoric. It is racist rhetoric. I would have been probably borderline considered a racist back then. And it took years to remove a lot of that thinking from my head, even after I said, I'm not down with religion no more. I ain't believing in God no more. I'm an atheist. You know what I mean? So it took a while to start looking at white people differently and not seeing all white people as being racist, all white people as being white supremacists, all white people being in support of racism and white supremacy. Because when you start interacting with white people and you start meeting other people outside of your immediate area, you start noticing that, okay, all white people are not racist. All white people are not white supremacists. All white people are not in support of it. Actually, I'm running into white people that are vehemently against white supremacy, vehemently against race. I think because we're just not familiar with these organizations that are intersectional, that have Native Americans working with Black people to fight against white supremacy. We just think they don't exist because they're not getting the coverage on the news outlets. They are not getting the views on YouTube. So we just think they don't exist, but they're there. There are shockingly Muslim organizations that are working with Black organizations to fight against white supremacy. Because when it comes to racism and discrimination and bigotry, you know what I mean, It's always the same common denominator. It is racist white men and also too racist white women that are doing the terrible stuff to black people or to Hispanic people or to Asian people or to Muslims or yes, the LGBT community. And the same demonizing and dehumanizing tactics that are used against black people are also used against them because it works so well on us. This is why I have changed my position over the years to, you know, anybody that is against racism, anyone that is against discrimination, anyone that is against bigotry and against mistreating people, I'm on your side. I don't care if you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, what religion you practice. If you on that side, I'm on your side. And that's how I look at it there. So anyone can love anyone. Most people that I've met that are in interracial whether it's marriages or relationships or whatever, they're together because they love each other. Now, there are exceptions where I've seen some people that clearly have some self hate. I have seen some exceptions where it's clear that you are getting with this particular person, whether they're white, Asian, or whatever, because of like how you mentioned earlier, Dr. Mayad, and the other great sister as well, the stigmatization and the negative imagery about black people, black men, black women, and it's extreme. And I think we're just now within like the recent years starting to see a more positive image of black men, a more positive image of black women, and a more positive image of black families together. You know what I mean? And the way I look at it is whenever there is a win against racism and discrimination, even is if it isn't for black people, that's still a win for us. And it's a detriment to white supremacy and racism. So when the whole Asian bill was being passed, I was in support of that. I'm like, okay, that's good. We need to have some more stuff put in place. So once you get that one little step, maybe we can start adding some more stuff later on. White supremacy and racist folks, they hate stuff like the bill that was passed for Asian folks. They hate it when stuff gets passed like the Civil Rights Act. They hate it when stuff like that gets passed, whether it's benefiting black people, whether it's benefiting Muslims, Asian, or even the LGBT community. And they will prey on us as black people whenever we have an out group that they don't like, that we don't like too.
Hmm.
So as soon as black people get to leaning on a lot of the stuff that they get from the whole Christian religion, hating on gay people and LGBT folks, they'll use that to get us to support their white supremacy agenda, yo. This is why we gotta stand with them too, because the same tactics used against us are definitely used against them. So let me switch gears. Good brother Trigger, man. I'm gonna have to come for you.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I'm gonna have to come for you, my dude. It is clear if you listen to the stuff that he's saying in the chat, and even he kind of reiterated it on the panel here, it is clear that he has come across some very questionable stuff on YouTube. There is a lovely, I'm just going to call it what it is, sexist movement, misogynist, patriarchal movement that has been taking place for some time on social media called the manosphere. And it isn't just white men that's doing it. It originally was white men that was pushing this. But now you're starting to see black men push it as well. But I do agree that when we have black women that are saying some extremely wrong and false stuff about black men or just men in general, that shit should be called out. But
Absolutely.
you'll notice that the whole manosphere thing has been getting a lot of traction. And it didn't start with them. It originally started with the Nazis. Well, let me rephrase that, the neo-Nazis, because there ain't no Nazis around no more. The neo-Nazis. Back
Wow.
in, I want to say, the early 2000s, you would have seen a lot of neo-Nazis, a lot of neo-Nazi rhetoric starting to become popular, and then it really popped off right around the time that Donald Trump was running for office. Back during that time, if you go back and look in your social media around that time, you would have been hearing a lot of negative stuff about any TV show where it was a black woman that was a protagonist, or a black man as a protagonist, or a video game trying to be more inclusive of black people or Asians or whomever. It doesn't matter. and it was kind of funneled by a lot of, I'm gonna keep it 100, racist gamers, and also a lot of incels.
Mm.
You know, if these terms don't sound familiar to y'all, just type it in your phone real quick. Incel, INCEL, manosphere, MANOSHEP. Oh Lord, sphere. I'm probably gonna misspell it. Um, and you'll see this trend, and it all goes back to white supremacy, all of it.
Mm.
The hatred of women, the hatred of gay people. And there was a documentary that I saw last year, and I saved it. Thank God I saved it. Of a dude, a white guy, he was exposing how apps like TikTok and what's the other one that's like TikTok? Is it Instagram I'm thinking about? It's probably Instagram, where a lot of white supremacists that most Hispanic and black people would not listen to or support are supporting them because of their anti-gay rhetoric. And they're using the anti-gay rhetoric as a gateway into them supporting white supremacy.
Wow. What's the name of the documentary? I want to check that
I
out as soon
have
as
to
this
find it.
broadcast is.
I'm at the dig
Okay.
for it. I definitely saved it. I don't care if I had to take all night to look for it. This is why I save stuff, because
Yeah, shoot it.
I'll forget
Yeah,
the
shoot it
name
to
of it.
me.
But it's really good. It really doesn't he really doesn't talk about it with black people. It's really more with white people doing it, but it
Mhm.
correlates. Because as you start seeing the rhetoric, you start hearing black people repeating white supremacist talking points.
We do it all the time. We do it all the time.
And I was wondering, like, yo, where is this coming from, yo? And that's what's going on. Like, they're using things that we do not like and using that as a gateway to get us to accept their rhetoric. They'll start with something that they don't like, that we don't like, and then it leads into us agreeing with almost everything that they say. You know what I mean? So, good brother Trigger Man, you need to definitely stay off the manosphere social media folks, because they will send you down a rabbit hole, yo. And if y'all
Mm.
ever take a look at their rhetoric, they got a whole Wikipedia page on manosphere. They have a tendency to push anti-women hate, uh actually straight up just violence towards women. And that's definitely a problem that I don't know if it will ever be addressed, you know, on social
Mm.
media.
Mm.
But I know a lot of things were talked about tonight. I know some people, you know, may have a problem with feminism for whatever reason need be, but uh, I look at it as any other ideology. You're always going to have some people within that ideology that goes too far with
Right,
their
right, right. The pros
ideology.
and the cons.
Yeah, but I mean, the core concept of feminism, you know, was just about trying to get women rights, like our right to vote, our right to have rights over our bodies, our right to not get paid less just because we're a woman. You know, it's like one of the things I mentioned in the chat when the dude said, "Oh, it's women's fault because of all this." I'm like, dude, like women have only been able to like be able to buy a house and get a credit card without having a man co-signing for like the past 90, like I think 80 or 70 years.
I thought it was shorter than that because
I
I
think it's
was
shorter
thinking
than that. I might
about
be off by a
yeah,
couple of
yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's like yeah,
Like,
even less
how
than
is a
that.
marginalized group gonna have all this power that you saying is their fault? That's like you trying to blame Hispanic people coming across the border to get a job for as to why you don't have a job. Like, you're blaming a marginalized group that doesn't have any rights in this country for a problem that they didn't even cause.
Mm. Mm.
You know what I mean? But the way I see it is like this, to just go back to your original topic of your show. You know, I think people should be with who they want to be with. They should love who they want to love. But I also agree with the one thing that the other sister said at the beginning ish of the show, was that you kind of need to learn about the culture of that other person, the good and the bad, and be honest with each other and be open. And like the other brother said earlier, you know, be willing to listen, be willing to learn, be willing to care. And I think, like he said, there's some couples they do, and some they don't. You know what I mean? And I know another thing that I mentioned too in the chat earlier is that there are some studies that do show that the uptick in interracial couples definitely popped off after it took a while because it wasn't legal in all states after Loving versus Virginia. was passed by the Supreme Court, basically saying that, hey, that states cannot make laws saying that people that are not of the same race can't get married. So it took a good like 10ish or so years after that for like states to like actually start, following what that ruling said. But like ever since then there's been an uptick really high of interracial marriages, not just white and black, but like Hispanic with black, white with Asian, black with Asian, you know what I mean? And like I mentioned in the chat, and you had brought it up earlier, Dr. Mayad, you know what I mean? When you have interracial kids, it's really hard to be racist because you love your grandbabies. You love your grandbabies, you love your children, and I'm not going to say that interracial relationships and showing it all over media, all these interracial relationships and people being happy together is going to magically eliminate racism, because in reality, that's just not going to work. It's just not going to be able to convince people that are just diehard racist. But the people that are kids that are growing up in these racist homes that don't necessarily agree with what their parents are teaching them in regards to how bad black people are, you know, they are the ones that are most likely that are going to be swayed into seeing what happened to George Floyd and being like, yo, this is wrong. Like, why is this allowed? This isn't okay. This should be illegal. Like, why is this allowed? And having a problem with that and saying, yo, my best friend is black. My girl is black. My wife is black. And like, this is allowed in this country? Hell no. The problem is the white folks that think like that, they usually aren't the ones that are in positions of power to do anything about it. You know what I mean?
Well, Sister CK, no, I was getting ready to say thank you so much for coming on. I'm gonna give pass the mic to brother Yapo. He's gonna be the last caller, but thank you so much for giving us your input, sharing your thoughts. I see Trigger Man. You didn't Trigger Man. He had a chat going off, but it is what it is.
You don't want these problems because I'll start bringing sources and it'll get real bloody in the streets.
But thank you so much. I do appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts. And come back, check me out. I'll be back live on Sunday. I'll be back live Sunday at 7 for the book club. We're reading the book called The Color of Law, and it talks about how law was used to segregate America, and it's actually
if
written
you need
by
the book digitally for free. I can send this in the knowledge Discord.
I had the book behind me, so if you want to drop it, in the chat, you can drop it in the chat for those who don't have the book. But yeah, check us out on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sister CK. Can you hear me? I think I lost her. Did I lose you, Sister CK? I may have lost her. All right, Brother Yapo, you have the floor, Brother Yapo. Peace and love to you, brother. Close us out.
Okay, peace. Can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear, King. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and I just want to say peace to everybody present. We'll start off by saying that within a construct of a system of white supremacy, black people cannot be racist. We can be prejudiced, we can be bigots, but we cannot be racist within a construct of a system of white supremacy. That's that. The thing where I hear people talk about that, like, it's because we don't understand white people or haven't been around any that we feel the way that we do about them. And I want to apologize in advance. If I drop out, I just drop out. Where I am in the world, the internet's janky. Anyway, I'm in my 60s up into my 40s. I was a conservative Republican. I was raised around white folks. I was a Rush Limbaugh listening to Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Michelle Malkin, the McLaughlin group watching Black Man. I made Jesse Lee Peterson look like Malcolm X. And I was pretty bad until I woke up. And my thing is, I don't feel the way about white people that I do because I don't understand. It's because I do understand them. And half my family is white. And I have watched literally, I go to a family reunion and feel like I'm caught in an avalanche. All I see is all these white folks. What in the hell is happening to my family? and we're just like steadily lightening up. And when I discuss why we marry outside our race with people, going to the subject, we talk about like the dysfunction of our people, and some of it is financial and so on. But any discussion of our condition that is separated from how we got in this condition is disingenuous to me. I once heard a little girl say, this was several years ago. She said, you kill you throw our fathers in prison and you murder our fathers, and then you talk about us bad because we don't have any fathers in the house. And the point being that you caused this, you put us in this position, and our people definitely need to heal. Everybody ain't for everybody. Everybody is not there to heal everybody, and some people really just don't want to be bothered with doing the work, and that's a person's decision. I mean, it's up to you who and what you let into your life.
Right.
But our people definitely need to heal. And all I ask of our people is that as we're blaming each other, as we're saying black men ain't squat or black women ain't squat, and then deciding to run into the arms of the people that caused them to be that way, or caused us to be that way, just ask the question, how did we get here? How did we get this way? We didn't wake up one morning or come out the womb, the way that we the way we are. We're shaped within a society. We're shaped within a construct that hates us. We're shaped within a construct that's against us. And so, like I said, it's like going to someone who is not us is like going to the government for some kind of remedy to our problems. You're the one that caused the problem. You're the one that made the problem on purpose, and it benefits you to keep the problem going. And I'm going to you to get help. So now you got my people all messed up, whether it's a man or a woman, and I'm going to go and run to you for comfort. Make it make sense to me. Make it make sense. And I think that's about all I have to say. It's not. They're the ones that put us in the position, and I just wish our people would keep that in mind. Even if the decision is to go on and date outside your race or marry outside your race, just keep in mind that this person that you're castigating, this person that you're dogging out because they're a broke AN or they're ratchet or whatever, just take just a moment and say, how did they get like that? Why are they in that condition? Who put them in that condition? Okay, I'll go to the person that put them in that condition. So that's that. That's all I got to say. I could keep going, but that I go all night.
I hear you, warrior. Well, I do appreciate you. That's a hell of a closeout. What you just said. You said, hold up. We're pointing fingers at each other, but we're not pointing the finger at the people who have put us in the position. Man. Oh man, we're not pointing our finger at the people who created that condition, right? Or the person or the group or the entity or the system that created this condition that we live in. And so, oh man, it reminds me of a build I just had with Baba Amin a few weeks ago, where we posed the question: are we cultural creations of white people? Are we cultural creations of black people? So Baba was saying the thug is a cultural creation of a white person, right? When you do certain things, he said, understanding, you have become a cultural creation. And so that was powerful. But anyway, Letitia, I know I held you for 2 hours. I know I said 1 hour, but these calls were like, isn't it? I love opening up the floor because we went for about 55 minutes. I opened up the floor. And the calls just came in. Well, not calls, but people click the link. It came in, joined the panel. And there were a lot of very, very interesting perspectives. And I appreciate everybody who called in. So, Sister Letitia, do you have any closing words for the listening audience?
Not necessarily closing words. I'm just thankful for everyone who participated. I appreciate learning from everyone on this, particular channel. I appreciate you, Dr. Mayat, for even having this discussion. And I just hope everyone walks away, just learning something from this build. And I just truly appreciate you all.
Hey, and I appreciate you coming through and having this discussion with me, because I know this is something you and I have a lot of discussions. We talk about stuff. I hit you. You heard about this book? Yeah, I read that book 5 years ago. We talk about stuff, and so I do appreciate us having a dialogue in private, and you being willing to have it in public. And so thank you so much for coming on the panel. I don't have any closing words other than thank you to you, Sister Letitia, and also thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you to everyone who came on the panel to share your thoughts. Family, I will be back live on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Read Book Club. We will be discussing chapter 1 of The Color of Law. And so, family, even if you don't have the book, tune in, because we're going to be building and talking about how law was used to segregate America, right? I'm telling you, even just the bill, when we talked about the preface, or it's preface, but the preface on last Sunday, that bill was even powerful. So if you didn't watch it, family, go back into the archives and check out last Sunday's discussion, and then join me back here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this Sunday. All right. If I don't see you this Sunday, have a black-tastic week. Peace and Black power.